É premiada em círculos acadêmicos e empresariais, elogiada por sua atuação tanto em nível europeu quanto em projetos colaborativos com instituições brasileiras. Então, nós vamos ter esse prazer hoje, né, de ouvi-la a dar esse curso. Tá? Lembre-se também que a professora Jankowska tem uma academia na qual ela recebe alunos, tá? Para quem quiser fazer um curso de verão, né, lá na Polônia, é uma coisa bacana também de se pensar, tá? E vocês podem ir para lá, né, e visitar Cracóvia, pode visitar também outras regiões ali que é de bastante interesse, inclusive Auschwitz, Birkenau, né, Varsóvia, tá? Então tudo isso é bastante interessante aí para vocês manterem contato com ela, tá bom? Bom, a professora Jankowska, como vocês veem, ela está quase já no topo de carreira, que é professora titular. Hoje ela é professora associada e almeja, então, ser professora titular da Universidade da Silésia. Tá? Com pouca idade, né? Vocês podem ver que ela é jovem e já está, né, nesse degrau. Ela publica bastante, inclusive o último livro dela que ela publicou foi pela editora Routledge, e que é uma das principais editoras, né? Viaja o mundo todo dando palestra, né? Há pouco tempo ela esteve na Universidade de Honolulu, também esteve na Universidade de Melbourne, na Austrália, né? E, enfim, é alguém que realmente, né, vocês podem se espelhar, tá bom? Bem, então vamos à professora. Ela fala um pouquinho rápido em inglês, espero que vocês aí, que, né, com o ouvidinho bem aguçado, entendam direito o inglês que ela fala, mas qualquer coisa, levanta a mão, pergunte, tá? Faça aí a interação com ela, que ela vai ficar muito contente de que vocês realmente participem aí da aula dela, tá bom? Eu vou passar a lista de presença para vocês, tá? E depois, então, vocês me devolvem para a gente contabilizar a presença de vocês. Se inscreveram 100, né? Vamos ver se não tem 100 aqui hoje, né? Não sei o que aconteceu, mas espero que nos outros dias aí, né? Nos próximos dias, aumente aí a frequência. Muito obrigado.
So many things in that case. So hello again. Thank you, Professor, again for introducing me, and most of all for having me here. And thank you all for coming and sharing interest in fashion and law as such. So I will mostly stay here with you, and I will be walking here and talking to you because I also want to keep you engaged. So let me just ask you, which year students are you? First year, third year, all right. Nice, 5. I see 5 fingers already. So so you have like a mix of students with very different takes and niveau of legal knowledge. So raise your hands if you ever took any course of on intellectual property. Oh, that's so. Okay, raise your hands if you like fashion. No? Okay, so at least that's a good starting point, all right? And raise your hands if you ever heard of such an area as fashion law. Okay, that's brilliant, because even my professor always tells me, Marlena, there's no such a thing as fashion law. In fashion, it is okay to copy everything and everybody, and that is something that he said to me 15 years back, I guess, and times have changed. Times have changed completely, so we have a way better understanding of what's law there for. Have you did you come to my first lecture, introduction to the legal week? Were you here this morning? Some of you who was there? Some of you were. Okay, so I was actually saying today that we need to be savvy, right? Because you guys study law. You're law students. Raise your hands if you're something else than law student. So do you study any other course as well, or is it just law? Law, right? I was the same. So I was thinking when I was younger, should I pursue a career of an advocate or a judge, or could that be for me? Maybe if I even passed all these exams, right? So that was like starting point of everything. And now, actually, I am indeed, as Professor said, an advocate. I also got my PhD and habitation, favor up also in law. That's like a second degree in law. Now I'm pursuing my full professorship, and on top of it, I was a student still a few months back, getting my MBA from an Australian university and getting that beautiful experience of studying business abroad. And in January, I'm starting another master course, but on supply chain, right? And my fellow friends, they keep asking me, why? You are a lawyer already, so why would you want to pursue something less than that? And that's like, it's not less, it is just a different angle. So I'm really happy to give you this idea of fashion law, because at some point you will have to also choose for yourself. As I can see, as it is not the first visit to Brazil, and hopefully not last, I can see you have beautiful fashion brands. You have fashion skills. I don't remember that fashion, no, sorry, that show. It is about singers. It is hip-hop singers, and they pick these guys. I would have to look it up on Netflix. Don't you know what I'm talking about? It's a format, so it's like from country to country, and there's also people from favelas, and they actually sing. And then there's a contest in Sao Paulo, in Rio de Janeiro, and some other places. So that's like a local level, and then they go up to the national level, and then one of them wins. So it's like all about hip hop and coming up with rhymes and words just off the head, like off the top of your head. Don't you know? I will look it up for tomorrow. Well, anyways, I was shocked to see how well Brazilian people are actually dressed. So I think Brazil really has got indeed a very strong sense for that and a huge love for that too. So, as a matter of fact, I wanted to start with something simple for you, and that would be a question: what is fashion, right? So I think at some point I will also ask you about your ideas, but here it is. This presentation will help you understand some patterns of thinking, and also understand why actually fashion is important. It's not even being edgy, always getting all the most fashionable clothes. Like, you cannot really follow everything, every thread, every flow of fashion. But we need to understand what dress is, what apparel is, what a dress code is all about, because there is such a thing. So what do Steve Jobs and Jack Dawson, speaking of Titanic, the movie, right, have in common? Anybody? Obviously, dress-wise, apparel-wise. I'm talking about dress code, dressing themselves. Do you see any similarities, or are these two on two opposite sides? How can actually Jack Dawson relate to Steve Jobs? They both wear t-shirts? Or they both wear suits? Okay, I leave it. I leave it here, like park it here, as we said in Poland, park it here, and we'll get back to it. So, fashion. Fashion, as a matter of fact, is not even so much about clothes and accessories. So what is it about? It's about a dialogue between me and you, you and me, right? When I see you dressed all in black or all in pink, I kind of get an idea what kind of person you are, isn't it? It's like we all kind of make assumptions about people, about life, right? If you want to date a girl, you look at her, like you make an assumption, like she's nice, she's not, she's cute, she's good looking, that is psychology of thinking. So at some point I will also discuss trademarks with you and colors, like how are colors important? So if you have like this trademark M for Mackenzie, do you think it's by chance? When you get all these little goodies, like Max and maybe Thermos or something, and a nice Mac name on it, you feel you belong to something, right? And then I don't know about Brazil so much, but I can tell by this example that you guys love university dress code. So Mackenzie jackets, Mackenzie this and that, no, don't you? It's like I also discovered when I was visiting in Rio de Janeiro that you are very much similar to actually to Americans, to the States, university-wise, right? So the same culture. I studied in Australia, and the culture was not so much the same. Like there is no real love for your university, and we don't really have that dress code. So we do have colors. Even my university, I don't think I have anything right now with me, but even my university has got a dress code and say a color chosen. We have our plushie and all that, but we don't really live that. If you get my point. So so at the end of the day, outfit is all about language, and then at some point it is a language of prestige, of power, or ideology, and it really starts from like a very beginning, talking about Bible and myths, and then through spiritual leaders, and really up to even Logan Roy, you know the guy, right? Succession, Netflix series, right? So we'll get as far as that. So starting with the very beginning and the Bible. So actually, here it is, Adam and Eve, they actually got some clothes from God as a punishment, surprisingly. But some people would argue that sooner or later they would make something of these beautiful fig leaves, so that they would dress more fashionably. But then again, human nature, we are like curious of things, so that's why we were punished by God, like in some kind of sense. So again, we are curious also in terms of fashion. In other words, the question is why? In fashion, it's always about communication, if you agree. Like we belong to something. We have our ideas about word, and we kind of show it through ourselves, through our own dress code. And then obviously even through the ages it was very different, and I will give you like a small idea, like a small sneak peek into what it was. But then did you know that when Christ was crucified, it was Roman soldiers that actually fought for his clothes, and actually they cast lots for that, because it was so nicely made. It was like it was so attractive, and also quality-wise, it was so nice. So that's actually the Gospel of John that tells us this. Then moving on to Buddha, he actually left his family place, and he returned all his jewels and expensive robes, and then he had just one outfit that actually he was wearing for his whole life, and it became very famous for its patches. So we see like patched blankets and all that these days. Like he was the first one to have it, right? So quite a influencer, I would say. And here's another Gandhi. So again, he took a piece of cloth, wrapped around his waist, and actually had this motto: I do not want anyone to adopt the Yandohi. However, I would like them to understand that Swadeshi in Sanskrit is from one's own country, means everything. Whatever. So in simple words, it means that he doesn't really pursue much, and that's what it is. So it was indeed already back then quite a statement. So in the beginning, he planned to be wearing this for 5 weeks, but then it turned to his whole life and his whole mission, as it took time to deliver some virtues and some values. And then finally Mao Zedong did very much the same thing. Maybe he delivered a different message, but again the message was delivered through clothes and through things. And then obviously burqa. I could talk for at least an hour about burqa, because I don't know if you know, but there's different styles of burqas from one Islamic country to the other, and I'm not really an expert here, but they can actually, these people that are like born and raised in these countries, they kind of know who they are dealing with. So is it Saudi Arabia, is it Qatar, is it something else? So it really gets complicated. So again, it is about that. And yeah, moving to really a fun fact. Like these days I get to hear a lot that there's no more real fashion anymore. If you look back into the Renaissance times, and then maybe Baroque, Enlightenment, they had like all these beautiful robes, all these little, I don't know, say embroideries and whatnot, rhinestones, and they would spend hours and hours dressing up, right? And now we say, yeah, I mean, there was, when it was 19th and 20th century, I will also refer to that later in my second presentation, but in the 19th and 20th century, it was about real fashion, high fashion, haute couture, Paris, maybe also Italy, but yeah, we like that, right? So name of these 10 designers of that time. Huh? Valentino came later. Christian Dior, my favorite. Yeah. Chanel. Pateau. Lanvin. Ever heard of Lanvin? Well, surprisingly, Lanvin got reinstated. So if you travel a lot, look out, have an eye out for Lanvin. 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 Because you get to see Lanvin bags, for instance, and belts. It's like super expensive, right? So Lanvin, what else? Dating back. Pateau, yeah. Then also Poiret. Actually, Poiret, he was like one of the first ones that considered himself to be an artist. And many more, including the famous Madeleine that created her own ways of cutting material, and obviously Louis Vuitton that dates back to the 19th century. Many of them do. What about Tiffany's? They do. What else? Yeah, So anyway, we got this idea, and I want you to So the problem is, or what I get to hear is that, well, we don't have this kind of fashion anymore. Everybody wears T-shirts, and it's like so plain, and we get so much uncovered, and the more holes sometimes we have in our garment is actually for the better. So here's the idea behind it. Why was it so important to wear elegant clothes, say from Renaissance through to Enlightenment and the 19th century? Why was it important to be elegant? Are we elegant these days? Why not? Yes? Huh? Yes, it's actually a show of power, indeed. So here's one of the books that I can recommend for you, History of Fashion. So François Bichet, he divides or distills fashion into two areas, clothing and dress. It's like apparel, or attire. So clothing, like whatever you need for your climate, whatever you need to cover your intimacy and all that. And then attire, if you really take it to the next level, say religion-wise, aesthetics-wise, and all that wise. That's what it is. These people, they would actually they had puffed sleeves and pants, heavy kaftans, shoes requiring special hooks to fasten and unfasten, and elaborate headwear. In our eyes, all this makes normal everyday functioning impossible, not to mention that attempting to put on this complicated outfit independently would have ended in a failure. So you would need a servant, or at least one servant for that. So servants say. So indeed, power. So that's why. So why? I mean, yeah, I really like this one. Because it really shows you the idea, like someone's like you or someone else right there waiting to get dressed by other people. So that is indeed a show of power, like really bringing that message. Yes, I do have time to devote for that because I don't need to work. And back in the day, you had people that would work for you. Well, we don't really follow the same idea these days, so we have to work. That's why we don't really have time to stand in front of a speglio mirror all day, right? Indeed, that's why also people these days choose luxurious clothes, because they also want to deliver a message. It is partly unspoken, it's like somewhere hidden, so it's like between the lines. So indeed, it was proof that person wearing it had risen to such a high position they didn't need to do anything except pose for portraits and deliberate on important matters, like what's forever tonight. Right? And here's also another one. So a book by George Duby, History of Private Life. So he already mentioned that people would be kind of classified like across hierarchies by the color. So obviously there was a strict ban on wearing, for instance, red, like Mackenzie, because that was only for kings. And there's a reason for that. I think I have it like later in the slides. But it was all about the tent. So the tent, it was tinted, and the way the tent was pursued was really laborious and expensive. So that's why actually red comes out so expensive. And actually the darker, like scarlet red, you know scarlet red? The color, scarlet red. Scarlet red is the color of your blood. It's like when shark bites you, it's scarlet red in the ocean. So that used to be like the most expensive and the most luxurious color. Then the second one, pink, only for noble class, for instance. And then yellow, what is it? Loose morals by little. So actually, yeah, so a woman of loose morals would be wearing yellow, right? Yeah, whatever. So it is. And here's one of the movies, that's actually a Polish movie, that shows, there's a scene actually where someone is pretending to be a higher class that he really is. So he gets in by wearing really good clothes. And so it's like all the context of social position. And that is indeed where we're getting to Jack Dawson. So he got clothes or tailcoat borrowed from Molly Brown, and now here we go. Like if you had that say like a wizard, like where you go, and now you are a princess, right? So now he is a prince for 5 minutes, really. So please hold that thought for later, because it is going to be important. So fabrics, as a matter of fact, it changed the word's fate. That's what makes the difference, because as a matter of fact, we keep like brief fashion, sector, fashion industry, but as a matter of fact, it is TCLF. That's how you call it. Do you know what it is? So that's an acronym for T. That stands for textile, C, clothing, L, leather, and F, footwear, right? So that's it. So before we dive into the very level of Loro Piano, that is 100 cashmere, ever heard? Yeah. Or Asai Miyake turtle necks, ever heard? So he made all these turtleneck blouses, like turtlenecks, for Steve Jobs. Super expensive. And Steve Jobs would have like tens of these in his closet, maybe all the same color. And the question is why? Because he can. Because he can, right? So that is a very silent meaning behind it. I mean, elegance these days is silent. Well, I like it vibrant though, so much more. But it's like, yeah. So, and then it starts with all these travels, like the way we travel today. I was like Vasco da Gama and Magellan and many more. So Silk Road, what happens here? Well, we have to understand that back in the day, silk was one of the main assets. And it was Marco Polo that got so far as to Asia in the 13th century, and he was amazed by the beauty of silk, and he actually was the first one that started beyond the Silk Route from Asia to Europe, okay? And so he tweaked. He changed silk into a commodity, which actually was also an item of investment, because you can always buy or always sell like gold or money these days. So you kind of we kind of see that it's like from very beginning that people do spend so much money and so much time on goods like this. And then in the China had already back then secrets, trade secrets. Today we call them, yes? No? We call them know-how. know-how. So know how to protect your ideas, know how to protect your manners of doing some business. So so that's what it is. And then later, as silk became a status symbol, it was actually central, actually mostly Western Europe, mostly the Netherlands, that got engaged into all these commercial matters. Yeah, so just as today, microprocessor production is also determined by some elements, or oil reservoirs impact what's happening on this planet, including currencies, exchange rates, and all that. So back in the day, that actually would be silk. So this is a picture for you to kind of get this idea what Europe of that day was all about. So speaking here of the Netherlands and Belgium, it's actually Brugge and Ghent that actually were all built in town halls and townhouses, and that's where the whole business was present. Until one thing also happened, and that at some point we got to that Savile Row. So this is a kingdom of suits, I would say. So this is a place where you get a nice tailored suit, so custom made, and so this is it. And I'm actually showing you a nicely tailored men's suit on purpose, because as a matter of fact, I want you to look from perspective at some point later, maybe tonight, maybe in 3 days, try to understand, is there any room for protection, or is it copyrighted, or, I mean, can it be copyrighted, or can it be trademarked, or patented, or what is it? Because as a matter of fact, it looks pretty simple. So it's pretty simple, just as a turtleneck or just a t-shirt, right? So whatever he's doing here, is it just craft, or is it originality? Is it artistic? Because as a matter of fact, copyright law, something that I will talk about today, is not fair. And it's not fair for one reason, it does not put the same threshold on goods. As for some, it is way easier to obtain copyright protection, and for some, it is way more difficult. Because as a matter of fact, what copyright law protects is creativity and artistry in a way. So it is good enough, you take a pencil and you do like blah, blah, blah something, and it's already copyrighted. So say you take your laptop and you write a few words, is it copyrighted? Yes, because each and one of us would write the exactly same thing in very different words. And the way you put words together, that is already individual, original, and surprisingly, software can tell who wrote that poem. And there's actually heaps of research related to Renaissance and Middle Ages trying to uncode the ownership of these anonymous poems. And they are quite successful on that, because once you find a poem that is actually credited to someone, and then there's another poem that is not, that is anonymous, you can actually, through software, you can track some patterns. So that's one or two different categories of works. But speaking of fashion, how can this be copyrighted? I mean, there's something that I want you to look at. I mean, it's so simple. This so-called bespoke tailoring, that's what we call it. And then, as a matter of fact, it is a new symbol of belonging to that elite level. Like it is a uniform of elites, as they say it. It's not my words, I copied these from the internet somewhere, right? And then individual client specifications. So you want your buttons here, that's fine, here, like what color, like how would you like it and stuff. And then it is actually the big deal to get things done the way it is here, right? And look at this man. I love his picture because he's so laser focused. So at the end of the day, I want you to understand that fashion is not colors. It's not like you take a parrot. With all the respect to lovely parrots, that I consider so beautiful. But if you take a pen, pencil or a brush, even better. Here, yeah, right. And you have like a statement right here, a parrot. And then compare this man. That is so simple, right? Where is room for originality? Is it, what's artistic? Is it like being like plain and simple, like this? Or being like vibrant like this? Like what I wear underneath. So as a matter of fact, that is actually one of the issues here that we have to face regarding law and regarding fashion and fashion law. It is no coincidence that the British aristocracy, politicians, and later industrial tycoons dressed here. A Savile Row suit was like a passport to the upper class. No logo, no showiness, but just the quality that you actually spot like that, right? And here's also the mechanism was always the same. Luxury material became the language on non-verbal prestige. So it is like the silk from Asia and all that. And then also moving on to French and haute couture. And again in Paris, it was all about the quality. It was all about tens and hundreds of hours spent over one dress. Right? Here's I press news, really worth reading at some point whenever you have time. I believe some slides. I will share the slides with you. I will do that through my marynajankowska.pl website. I will let you know about the passwords for my databases with some slides through Professor Romanello, so no problem. So you don't have to take pictures whatsoever because everything will be stored. But what I want to say here, again, no Gucci, no Louis Vuitton, no Balenciaga, no billboards. Yeah, I love billboards. But so it is more of a choice of being silent. Just stand there and look. I'm a tycoon, I don't have to do anything else. It's just that my clothes are so expensive. It's more than your house, right? And I have tens of these in my closet. So quite luxury, and that's the one. That's the one I want you to look at because this man delivers a message, right? So look at that. Right, he's like really savoring each moment, like he's enjoying every little bit of his clothes. Is it a jacket? Is it a tie? Is it all the looks together? Do you think that man would look like also this nice, handsome, if you will, in a plain t-shirt, saying something like Hawaii, aloha. Like, I don't have to work today. Something like, I don't know, right? So why am I showing you this man? Because I want you to understand two things about fashion and about copyright law, but I will talk about today later. There's, say, crafts and artistry. So crafts is like, you know your deal, you do things well, but it's like delivering a opinion for court related to, say, like like in geodesy, like something about the soil, blah, 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 something like that, simple, or even valuation, estate valuation. So here's a question for you. Do you consider an estate valuation to be creative or not? For instance, say you want to sell a house and then you need it to get valuated. So do you think it's creative? Well, it is actually it is not so easy to evaluate it. So it's like always room for individual choices. However, it is considered not to be creative because every person in this profession is actually taught his ways of doing things. So it is considered that whoever that would be would mostly come at the same result, say money-wise, like how much property is worth. But again, it is super difficult to write an expertise on that. And then, so that's like one thing. So here is like craftsmanship, the quality, right? And then on the other side is that blah, blah, blah. So I take a pencil, I'm like blah, 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 and this is it, and that is considered artistic. So that's one reason that I consider copyrights to be quite discriminating. But then at some point we also have to draw a line. So as a matter of fact, let me already introduce it here. So there's a fine line between ideas and a form. So only what gets protection, it is a form and not the ideas, right? So say if you know, right, if you know, say Tiffany's, and very famous for its turquoise color, is this color a form or an idea? An idea. An idea. That's why it gets no copyright protection. But again, a brand would not take a no for like they would not accept a no to something they want to protect. So it is actually Tiffany, something that I mentioned today. Tiffany made that also push towards trademarks. So that's how we consider colors to be trademarks these days, right? So if not copyrights, maybe something else. If not this one, maybe patents, maybe design, or maybe trademarks. So that's what it is, like crafts and craftsmanship versus artistry. And so here it is. I think it's like at some point it might be both. Obviously, we are not experts. Do you know how to sew? No, like you use like a sewing machine, or anybody here? No. So like me either. But and we don't have to do that as lawyers. It is good enough that we know some experts, and every time there's a case at in a courtroom, we just refer to experts, and they kind of deliver an opinion, right? Whether that is original or not. But for me, I'm planning actually to write a book at some point to prove my point that craftsmanship can be artistic in a way, can be original in a way. Why? Because I tell you this, as much as I'm not an expert, but as I'm already in fashion business, fashion law for quite some time, I'm pretty sure. And I double-checked that, like I love visiting all these stores like Chanel, Prada. There are some places where you just can enter just like this and touch a little bit here and there, and you can see the quality is like so different compared to other clothes. But also one thing that Chanel jacket is famous for, why is it like this? Because there's metal strings. Like or metal tiny elements right on the bottom, and it drags it down so that it stays, right? So at the end of the day, I just want to say, if you buy a piece of clothing and it doesn't look good on you, it's not your fault. It is the designer's fault, because we are like different shapes and sizes. I mean, only stupid can produce clothes for small size, right? So that's what artificial intelligence is helping with these days, and that is amazing how it proceeds. And so looking at Logan Roy from this perspective and succession, as I said, a sweater, but a cashmere sweater, and then all that quality, including lambs, wool, and whatnot. So he would say, I have so much that I don't need to flaunt my wealth. And Succession, I don't know if you ever read about it, but it, as a series, it became really famous for pursuing slow fashion and quality, say quiet fashion. We call it cicha moda in Polish. So how would you call it in Portuguese? Quiet fashion? Huh? Moda selección. Moda tranquilosa? Silenciosa. 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 So quiet luxury only. Yeah. So as I said, and that is a code. It's like you belong, but nobody else knows that you belong. It's only the ones that belong. They know that you belong, right? Because we also buy it, and they kind of can spot it. That T-shirt, that's that store somewhere in Hawaii, or somewhere in LA or San Francisco. So including Loro Piana, Brioni, and other very high profile. So today I would say that a T-shirt or a turtleneck is a suit of the 21st century, and that's it. So turtlenecks, they were made by Issei Miyake, especially for Steve Jobs. So it was custom made, right? It might just look so similar. And as a matter of fact, it was Steve Jobs that created that idea of slow and a silent fashion, and then. Simplicity was a uniform meant to save time and build a brand. So that's why we go from sophisticated to simple, because we don't have time, we work. Work is amazing all in itself. And then when you look at these men that, they open their business wardrobe, it's like 10 different suits, very much alike, similar colors. So it's like putting up a wardrobe of the same color, similar tints of colors and all that. For us women, it's slightly more complicated, I would say. So you look ordinary at the first glance, and then obviously it costs more than whatever. And same for Mark Zuckerberg. So did you know that his t-shirts were custom made by designers? And all that was or is so expensive. So as a result, the minimalism was supposed to look democratic, but it got quite inaccessible. So it's like the tailcoat for Jack from the Titanic. It's like everybody's striving for something, right? And also the less the better. So on the third day, we will discuss sustainability and how things get green and super sophisticated in terms of really getting more minimalistic about things. And at some point it's like just also about saying, I'm so rich, or at least I'm so enlightened, I can look ordinary, right? So this is how the history comes a full circle from the fig leaf to the cashmere turtleneck. And so at the end of the day, clothes is about position. So the bottom line is, if it's about position, it means that we need clothes. So if we need it, there's a demand for this, and whenever there's a demand, the market can spot things. And that's how brands and actually dynasties of retailers are born. Look at Louis Vuitton. And here's like a fun fact, something that I'm just, for the fun of it, I'm sharing. Kathleen Martinez, so she's a lawyer somewhere in the States, and she kind of got tired by being constantly discriminated, mostly by men, and maybe that was also, well, she got some laughs maybe about her color, choice of a color. I'd have to tell you that even myself, I wear a lot of pink in the legal office. Everybody got used to that, especially when I'm a fashion lawyer. I can do so much more than a regular lawyer. But so that's her. She created a company that's actually pink and is like very much empowered, and she mostly hires women. So here's a question we don't really need to answer, but is pink a new business attire? And I just want you to get that really strong idea that a color and the way you dress, the way you present yourself is indeed a statement. So that's like, say, the first part of it. And now moving on to my second presentation. I actually have 3 presentations. We'll see if we still have time for the second one briefly. Oh no, I have 4. Well, we'll see. Okay. Copyright. Copyright, and really quick introduction to that's what we will start with. So intellectual property rights, copy norm, and the fashion industry. That's one of my latest books, published by Old Ledge in 2024. This is my actually big accomplishment, I would say, because it cost me a lot of digging into detail, like really diving deep. I wrote this book mostly in the pandemic, so I had time. That's what I did. This book, if you go online, it is available online. It is open access starting this year. So it's like a second opening for me, because when a book that costs so much money is actually out there and that is closed, so what's the use, right? But now anybody can get into it. So again, fashion. I told you that fashion is about communication, right? But then, and not even Susan Scavidi. Have you heard of Susan Scavidi? So she's actually a lawyer based in New York City. She works with Fordham University, and she's the very first one to ever to create a fashion law course. And these days there's quite a few more. And we are all kind of racing, like who's better, who knows it all, and who's got the dominance in this area. And so she said that fashion is a powerful medium of communication, and not merely for its creators, but also for the wearers. But I told you today, but for the ones that are not in the know, I did accomplish my MBA. So I am also a business alumni. That's what you call it, right? Alumni. So I kind of, every time I do something, I put a double lens on it, like legal and also business lens. And it's beautiful. I mean, I love it because it really gives me a better understanding. This is not something I came up with myself, though. I read it in one of the books, maybe in audiobooks. So they said that fashion actually translates to profit, at least should. And then profit translates to financial responsibility. Do you get my point? All these fashion houses, say Hermes, Calvin Klein, Valentino, if you will, right? What's your favorite brand? Okay. Chanel. Good pick. Good pick. I don't know, have you guys been to Japan? I was really privileged to go over last year. And my observation, there's a huge divide into two groups of people, if Michelle can actually confirm, like, what's your observation? But every time I go somewhere, I look at people, what they wear, what's the design, what's the colors, and I love all that. Like, I love Brazil for that, for being so vibrant. You have beautiful brands as well. But when I went to Japan, I was shocked to see that there's like a strong division between people that belong to very standard, elegant, classy, very classy group that is mostly influenced by Coco Chanel and Christian Dior. It's like very outstanding, right? You can tell. And then the second group is actually meta-futuristic fashion. So it's like tracksuits and lots of geometric style. Like all these Japanese people are like very thin. So when you put all that geometry on them, it looks amazing. And so that's what I'm saying. So as a matter of fact, why I'm saying this, because each brand that we mentioned here has got their own idea, right? There's a specific feel to a brand. And who does it? Artistic director. So the most powerful person in fashion business, well, and not to mention the investor, the owner of the whole thing, because he decides. But as a matter of fact, the most important person is the artistic director. And also have to tell you that because of the pace that we have in fashion, the most suicidal industry or segment of industry is actually fashion, because like changing, like, they have to like come up with new ideas all the way, because you want people to buy new clothes. That's the thing. That's why we're talking financial responsibility here. If you don't make money, you don't really meet the bottom line, you get out. And then speaking also of fashion, there's a beautiful book. I love it so much. So it was actually originally written in German, but then also translated to English. And it's Ingrid Loschek, Wann ist Mode? And she said not really what, or she asked not what, no, what is fashion, but when is fashion? So like, when does fashion actually happen? Through what would actually fashion happen? And then we look at the fashion good from quite a different angle. If you have time, really, I do recommend that book, because it's like very artistic. So there's no law, but there's theory of aesthetics and fashion. So I mean, it's very dense. Even myself, I'm still reading it, like redigesting each word by one. And here again, if we dive back into history and philosophy of fashion, it's all about mimics, right? So I think that human nature is very much about mimicking. It's like, oh, my neighbor has got a beautiful car, maybe I should get myself such a car too. No? Aren't Brazilians like this? Polish are like that. And Europeans. So as a matter of fact, it's not like a phenomenon of the 20th century. It has always been there, and it was described by many people. And then, for instance, said, so Georg Simmel, German, but he was a sociologist, not a lawyer. He said that fashion is enslaving and liberating at the same time. And again, you want to follow. You want to follow the best. Ronaldinho's wife, or somebody else's wife, like Lewandowski's wife, or not. No, you don't want that. So as a matter of fact, or then once you get to the top, you want to be an influencer yourself. And we'll be talking about influencers on Thursday as well. So there's actually legal regulations for influencers. It's not that easy to promote things anymore. But again, it lies in our nature. And when philosophers like Friedrich Schiller, ever heard of? Okay. Friedrich Derbyshire, heard of? Eugen Pink? And Jean Baudrillard, for instance. So actually, I did all that research for you, just to tell you this one line. We all thought the same about fashion, right? Anybody speaks German? German background? I know there's like decent circle of German people here. Okay, so what is this? Historically speaking, it is actually from legal teoria to intellectual property regime, which is quite important because it's the legal regulations. Ever heard? Okay, so really getting started here. Why would one want to impose legal regulations on how someone is dressed? You said power, pursuit of power. So it is me wearing pink and not you. Go and change. Do you get my point? I mean, it is like slightly different these days, new generation coming, but imagine myself, like I'm 40-something years old, 41, 42, okay, 42. And 15 years back when I was pursuing my PhD book got out in 2011, so you can do your own maths. And I remember I was like a second year student, and I had a jacket. A beautiful jacket. It was a conference, legal conference, with my professors. Not at my university, but we went to a different location, nice place, like a mountainside, and I had that one jacket. My mama bought me that jacket. And that was like a black, and there was some embroidery, white thread across black background, and that embroidery was actually mostly flowers. Simple. There was no Chanel, no Valentino, no, I don't know what whatsoever. And at some point, the dean approached me and he said, "Would you please take this jacket off? Take it off. Take off this jacket." And I, like in the beginning, I thought, okay, I was like, no problem. I thought he was like joking. Yeah, I'm fine. Like, and then I realized he was for real. I mean, he wanted me to take this off because of a dean lady. She was 50, 60 something, and it happened so that we got the same jacket. The simple, small black jacket, and she felt offended by me having the same jacket. And it was a cheap store. And she was a law professor back then, wearing that cheap jacket, being offended by me wearing the same cheap jacket. Also, another story from my other friend. She's like, "No, you know, that's nothing that happened to you. Like last year, they asked me to take off my red, the nail polish that is red, because they said I'm not a PhD yet, so I'm not allowed to wear red nails. Red nails for law professors only." I mean, that was like 15 years back, obviously, but that's it. And then imagine what actually was out there back in these centuries. So legis teoria was to ban people from wearing clothes and colors so that you would know your place on this planet. And so diving here into intellectual property and innovations, I want you to get that clear idea. I mean, I know you cannot really memorize it all. What I'm saying is like too much on the one go, but please remember that there's a strict distinction between intellectual property and innovations. meaning that an innovation can be considered an IP, innovation can be considered an IP good, like copyright, patent, or something else. But then on the other, but it's not the other way around. So not, or maybe, yeah, let me say that again. So actually, an innovation can be considered an IP good, but not every innovation is an IP good. Okay, why? Because an IP good that I will break down to you in a minute, that is something created by lawyers. And what do lawyers do the best? Define. We go by definitions, isn't it? And what do business people do the best? Escape definitions. Circumvent. They get creative. That's how big brands actually rise and grow, and that's how they come into being. So it's like whether it's Uber or it's Amazon or something else, right? So that's what it is. So again, in the business school, we mostly use that word, innovation. And I was totally, I was perplexed. I mean, I was like quite puzzled because I didn't really understand. Like, I'm an IP professor and I don't even know what it is. So I started to read more about innovations. I'm like, oh my gosh, so it's so tricky. I show you some slides about that later on. And then IP protection, that is something that we will break into pieces in a minute. So intellectual property, I'm sure you heard about. So it is a category of property that protects creations of human intellect. Say we have at least two subcategories. One is copyrights and one is industrial property. I'll give you more about in a minute. And it is indeed property belonging to someone, maybe not touchable. It is not intangible, but then obviously it does exist. And so on the one hand, it's copyrights. On the other hand, it's industrial property, as I said before. So copyright is there to protect images, music, drawings, and now also multimedia, software, films, and other categories, including fashion at some point. And on the other hand, you get designs that are different because they refer to mostly protect packaging, graphic symbols, say web designs, product appearance or typefaces and typesetting, then trademarks. So anything can actually be a trademark these days, including logos, product names, company names, sounds and jingles, slogans, shapes, names of books or characters and patterns. And tomorrow we will talk about holograms. I'll get you some nice videos and we will play it, and so you'll see what's going on with trademarks. So I have one slide that I will show you in a minute, so stay tuned. Trade secrets. So trade secrets, that is a secret that you actually keep and you do not share, and that's how you kind of slightly escape intellectual property protection, but then you can get still some protection if your trade secret gets stolen. So still somewhere out there, like on the outskirts of intellectual property. And finally, patents. So patents are mostly for four things: that is methods, equipment, machine, interfaces, and materials, and domain names. But that's the slide. That's the slide. That's like the most important slide, but actually tells it all. So what is it? It's a lifespan of each good. So if talking about patents, patent protection is mostly fought for 20 years. Can it be extended? beyond 20 years? Can we get another 20? No. No, we cannot. We cannot get another 20 years. Then what's interesting here? Say registered designs, protection is 25 years. So you registered once and you obtain 5 years of protection, and then you can resubmit your application few more times, up till 25 years. Then copyrights. Copyright is like copyright is really fancy because copyright one is actually copyright lasts for 70 years, but after author's death. So it's your whole your whole life, and even more to secure financially your family and whatnot. Then we have trademarks, and trademarks can actually go forever. It's only a matter of money. You pay and you get. So that is indeed one of the most pursued regimes of intellectual property. And then finally, trade secret. Do you know anything protected by trade secrets? I'm pretty sure you drink quite a lot of that. That's right. That's right. Which you know when in like which year Coca-Cola was put on the market? I checked it at least a few times, but it was 1890 something. You can look it up if you have a phone with you. So look that up. So as a matter of fact, you can. Are you checking actually over there? Coca-Cola? One 1892. So say, could a Coca-Cola get a protection through trademarks? It could. But then it would actually close around, 20 years later. So you can do simple calculations here, right? On the other hand, there's, what do we have here? Well, trademarks. Well, indeed, we do have trademarks, but they do protect the idea of a product, not the taste itself. Then copyright law does not protect taste, and everything we are left with is actually trademarks, right? No, I'm sorry, trade secrets. Trade secrets. So back in the day, the owner of Coca-Cola decided to keep his secret to himself and only like the closest shareholders. So this is how Coca-Cola made its success up till now. So there's no 20, there's no 70, no 10, no 25. It's like eternal, as long as you can keep it secret. And that's actually amazing. And so obviously there's potential risks of not acquiring protection, because also you have to know that copyright as such does not need any registration. So one, it is free. Two, it is established ex facto creatio. So you don't really have to do anything. You don't have to meet any formalities. You don't have to go to any office whatsoever. It's all like that. So as a matter of fact, it is one of areas you want to pursue. On the other hand, you have industrial property, and the problem with industrial property is that you have to register it. So what's quite positive about that is that it is actually something that makes you secure. So I applied, I got my registration, I'm here on the bright side of business. But then lots of drawbacks. You have to pay for that. You need experts for that. So it's not just, hey, please register my blah, blah, blah logotype. It's like you have to deliver a message why it meets all the criteria, right? Even more for patents. So it costs you quite a lot. And you also need to compare whatever you have, say patent-wise, with the patents existing already in all these databases. So you need another expert to go and check that. And then finally, all these fees, and it's obviously time and disclosures. Because if you, again, apply for patent, even if you receive a protection, then it's 20 years. But again, if you do not protect IP, you do not get to protect your IP goods at some point whenever they get copied or stolen. And so your idea might get to the market before you intend to, and so lose, say, the bottom line, and then lose exclusivity. And you also might be infringing somebody else's intellectual property rights. So through obtaining intellectual property, is it for software, is it for literature, and most of all for fashion, you gain, what do you gain? Well, you gain competitive advantage. Ever heard of? So you better memorize the best you can, because that is the most fancy word or phrase you can learn in your MBA course. We are all there to gain our competitive advantage, or the competitive advantage for our client. And then you get your competitive advantage through recognition and reputation, and then obviously legal protection against counterfeiting and piracy. Then also international expansion is more likely and more possible. And how do you get access to finance and monetization through IP? Because you actually build your portfolio. You do? And you put that in your records. And then if you need to evaluate your company's worth, it's doable, right? Like, I have copyrights, how much is it worth? I have patents, how much is it worth? Like, patents are also subject of contracting in the States, maybe in Brazil, maybe not so much in Europe, but it is actually one of the assets. And then when, how do you get money to, let's say you have like a small fashion brand, right? Brazilian. And you're pretty sure that people in Poland, let alone Poland, people in Europe, especially Western Europe, they're gonna love it. But all you have is $1,000 in your pocket, and you're not really willing to put everything on your mortgage to try your chances in Europe. So how do you get money? You know, there's such a thing as a rollout of money from banks, but banks maybe not the best idea. Investors. Have you ever heard he got fired from his own company? Quote unquote. No? So that's the investors. So I might be maybe not the owner, but I am the president, the one that created the brand. If I'm capable of doing that, let me keep my 51% or so that I still have majority when it comes to voting. But when you collect money from investors, you promise them things, and this is how they believe that their money will be grown. Like this, their money will grow. That's why at some point every company, every brand there is to make money. Just as, say, you have like extra money and you invest it somewhere, right? You put it on a saving account, or you buy gold, or whatever, diamonds, or all gold coins, I don't know what, but also you can invest in business. So that's how it is. So so if I get access to finance, I can grow, and I get access to finance through trademarks, through patents, through registrations, right? At some point, these goods, they don't even need to be registered. You get also money for that from investors. One beautiful place that actually follows what I'm telling you about here is Silicon Valley. So they said that money actually lays on the floor, kind of, because everybody's like talking to it, like people are talking to people, like, do you have any idea? I would like to invest my money. So what is it? So some, startups, some mingling here and there, trying to find ideas, and then monetization. So all that really enhances your chances to get to the right level. And then tips, carry out clearance searches, right? So once you plan to register a trademark or a design, you need to find out whether there's anything similar, because you obviously don't want to infringe. So that's what, say, patent attorneys or trademark attorneys are for. Then identify IP asset you may have. So IP pre-diagnostic. I was talking about that before in my lecture, and I said use what you have. So think twice, see what is it that makes you special, something that other people want to actually have, or want to exchange your money for that little something. So pre-diagnostic, and then obviously keep things confidential. Truly it is. And register your unregistered IP as soon as you can. So here there was EU IPO study. EU is Alicante European Union Office for IP, such as trademarks and designs. And then EPO, anybody? That is European Patent Office. Based in Munich, Germany, and partly in Berlin. So they conducted that study together in February 2021 to come with this conclusion. Only 9% of European small and medium entrepreneurs have their own intellectual property rights. But those that do have, they have a revenue 68% higher, comparing even per employee, than those that do not have any registrations. Is it related? Is there any correlation? Well, I don't know. You need to conduct this study and see how it correlates. So is it so that actually intellectual property goods, they buy you wins? They buy you revenues, clients, or is it that you're just savvy, like you know what you're doing? And it's like, just like one of these side effects, registrations. So that's what it is. And then on the other side of the fence, there's innovations. So my kind of beloved category of whatever it is, as it is not really easy to understand. Business people and business professors, they name so many categories. There's also Oslo manual that refers to product, process, organizational and marketing innovations, and that's understandable, I would say. However, it is not transferable and not translatable to intellectual property as such. Like, you have to take it under a closer look and then see what it is. Then we talk about radical innovations, disruptive and incremental, and so on. I don't really have time to talk about all that here, but here's a very famous Anderson-Clark innovation model. So it is like a matrix of incremental, disruptive, architectural, and radical. And so, for instance, something that I like so much is incremental. So incremental is like baby steps, little by little. iPhone 10, 11, 12, right? 17 this year? 18? 17, yeah. Like, my favorite number is 19, so I'll wait. As a matter of fact, could they put all these new technologies just in one piece? They could, but they won't, because they want you to pursue more and pay more. And is it also protectable? It is. Through software. Software gets patented in the States. It's also trademarking and all that, right? So that's how things get done. And then when we look at fashion, and not just fashion, but textile and technology, it actually goes back to industry revolutions. And I don't know if you know, but in Europe we had actually, and still having, 4 revolutions. So right now, we are in the midst of Industry Revolution 4.0, 5.0 coming soon, or not? What is 5.0? Okay, break it down. The first one and the second one, like between 1700, 1800, 100 years. The next one, 3.0, 50 years. Very next one. I think that's another 50 years or maybe even less than that. And so starting with mechanization, steam power, and weaving loom. 2, mass production, assembly line, electrical energy. Here's Ford. So Ford company was the first one to introduce mass production. Remember? Like he was the one to say, you can buy any color of my car as long as it is black, right, to save time and money so that he can deliver more at a better price. And then Industry 3.0, automation, computers huge as living rooms. And finally 4.0, that is cyber physical systems, Internet of Things, and networking. Do you know Internet of Things? What is it? We'll talk about Internet of Things on day 3. We'll talk about sustainability and all, because sustainability is not just of the planet, like environment. It's also for our lifestyle, our prosperity, of our I'd say for our healthcare and all. It's through technical innovations, through physics, chemistry, and all that. So, we will dive into all these technologies at some point. But here I just want to say that Internet of Things is everything that is connected to the internet. Put your hands up if you're not connected to the internet right now. It's me. Only because I'm in Brazil. Yes, hi, Michelle. It's like your beautiful sharing internet every now and then so that I can get some idea of a real life. So there's no life without the internet, right? And now what gets connected? Your laptops, your phones, your jackets? Yes. I'll bring you an idea of a jacket created by Levi's. I guess. So anything really. These guys get to know nearly everything about our lives, our habits. So that's called personal data gathering through whatever can get connected. But at some point, there's also some sort of data analysis to see what we can sell, what people buy, what people want to buy. So websites. You go shopping online? Sometimes even more than offline. And do you use loyalty cards? Oh, did you buy something recently? I was actually saying this to Professor. I did actually get something from Shane or Temu. I'm not proud for that, but they're cheap and like pretty nice, right? So sometimes I go crazy and I get something from them. Anybody? Did you also find it impossible to buy from their website? You have to go to their application, get an app? And why? Well, because when you download an application really say it connects with your phone on every level. So it's got access to whatever there is on your phone. So they say, oh, we won't really pursue access to your pictures, your data, blah, 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 but they do. I mean, if something is like technically possible and it's not legally possible, do you really think that these companies, they actually stay close to legal boundaries? Well, I don't really think so. So that's like one of the ideas to get more information about their target, because as a matter of fact, we're always a target. So that's it. And then finally, Industry 5.0. So as I'm saying, we are getting connected, and it's like a merger of offline, online, see metaverse. So that's what it's gonna be. Oh, ever heard of tokens, NFT tokens? Tokens, to say it more precisely, NFT, Balenciaga and all, or Karl Lagerfeld. So at some point, obviously, for online meetings, we're going to have designer clothes. So for now, it's mostly a collectible, but also worth a lot of money. And then finally, there's this thing called Internet of Humans. So at some point, we'll have possibly devices in our body, and we will be somehow connected. I mean, it could be bless you for the better, but also could be for the worse for us, because at some point someone presses an enter and we get shut down, right? So again, medical reasons, but then say over complex ideas. For instance, you want to speak Portuguese like for tomorrow. So you just get this little thing where you put in your whatever, and things get uploaded. But so there's like quite a lot of research for that. So back in the history, as I already told you, fashion starts in the 18th century as such as we know it, and it all starts with Charles Worth. Something that is really fun to know about Charles Worth is that he was born English, but he loved France. So he moved to Paris, and he pretended, quote unquote, to be French. And so he was actually the very first one to do fashion his own way. I'll give you more ideas about that in a minute, but he was the first one to create haute couture chambre in 1868, called Chambre syndicale de la couture de confectionneur et de tailleur pour dames. Well, my French is terrible, but anyways, it's a chambre syndicale for couture, clothing manufacturers and tailors for women, and then it actually exists till actually today, and there's a specific list of brands that are considered haute couture. There's not too many of them. There's 27, maybe up till 30, and this is it. And obviously, there's a long history behind it. And surprisingly, when you look at haute couture, do you know haute couture as such? Obviously, you do, right? High fashion. And high fashion actually became a thing. And it's got 3 different meanings. So it's got its legal meaning, institutional, and descriptive. And so let's start with the last one. Haute couture, descriptive, meaning that there's a quality of clothing, like embroideries, maybe sequins, like nicely sewed into a piece of clothing. Then institutional, that is belonging to haute couture fashion houses, chambre. And then finally, legal. So surprisingly, since French legal text, there's a special ordinance on that, does mention haute couture. Actually, haute couture becomes a legal term, something that is used in the legal acts. So that's what it is. So also what I want you to understand better is that haute couture is something that is actually French. and you cannot be mostly based in Poland or Italy and consider yourself haute couture. Well, you could be actually Italian or something else and be haute couture only if you are a member of the chambre. So that's what it is. And as a matter of fact, talking about copyright and industrial property protection, as I said, the very early 20s and 30s, including Vionnet, Chanel, Suzanne, Laney, they all tried to fight knockoffs. Chanel maybe a little bit less than the others. However, that's when it all got started. So maybe back to Charles Worth for a minute. Again, look at this close and connect the dots. As I already told you that back in the day, being elegant was this, being rich was this. Well, not anymore. But when we look at all these embroideries, it's so. Is it crafty? There's a lot of crafts, right? Like you need to know how to do it. But is there artistry in it? A lot. So this is when two areas easily merge. However, back in the day, there was no recognition of copyright protection for fashion items, and that's what is amazing to look at. Back in the 19th century, Charles Frederick Worth was already considered to be a wizard of silk and tulle, because he had his own ideas about doing things. Yet he had no school, as we know it, I would say. He had no legal education whatsoever, no business education, but then business-wise, he was beyond amazing, as he was the very first one, really, to put up his fashion shows. And then he was said to have a beautiful wife, and he would doll her up, quote unquote, or dress her up nicely, and then go with her places like operas, theaters, and other beautiful high-class places. Why? Because, as a matter of fact, his wife became his propaganda, you may say, right? Advertisement. So all the women looking at his beautiful wife, nicely dressed, all that. Oh my gosh, I want the same dress. I just want the different color, la la la. And he's like, oh no. This dress is only in that color. It's me deciding for you now. And that's what Charles Frederick Worth was actually known for, and that was that he had his own idea about things, and he had his own reputation, and he would decline some clients. Like, he would say, I don't think you would look in this dress. I can sell you that dress. So that was his very deliberate pick of choices, if you know what I'm saying. That and again, back in the day, that was amazing. And he was actually the first one to put his labels, put his logo. So he had like a very specific logo there, and he would put it on the pieces he made. And I read somewhere that back in the day, people would not understand what the logo is about, and they would actually scratch it off or like untie it, because they would say, oh, I'm paying so much money for something and then I need to have his name on it, so I don't want that. Then he had also one very specific way of doing business. He had really very close relations with his clients. So he would endorse the clients, like, would you like this or that? How are you feeling today? And he would kind of be like very close, like with this woman, like, you know, he would touch your hand, he would like pat you on your head so that you would feel like taken care of kindly and stuff. And then he also had a beautiful atelier, so beautiful furniture, so it just would come to spend some time chatting, having coffee, picking your clothes, so a beautiful time together. And to wrap this up, maybe he actually was the first to introduce constant change of forms, fabrics, and accessories. And on top of that, he had a very strong sense of intellectual property, policy, regulations, all that. And back in the day, there was no intellectual property regulations for fashion, and no understanding of that. So he was actually the first one to pursue that. And obviously, I might be wrong, but I would say today that he spent more money than he made, because he spent money on lawyers just to prove his point that he is an artist. Because before, actually he's the first one to be considered a designer. Before him, it was mostly seamstresses and tailors, right? And here's another one, like today we have different fancy ways of putting up things, but already back in the day, he created this lantern dress that was for one of the it was one of his, I think, Rockefeller parties, but Vanderbilt family. That's the dress created for. And the other one was Paul Poiret. So before we move on, I just want you to see that these innovations mentioned right here. Is it a pointer? I don't know, but anyways, all these innovations, are these copyrightable? No. Are these trademarks? No. Are these patents? No. Are these, I don't know, industrial design? For the most part, no. So obviously, he made his way through copyrights. But again, these are little elements here and there that altogether create a brand, constitute a brand. However, it is not so that you protect a brand as such, indeed. And then Paul Poiret, he would bring some ideas from his travels, as you could see in the previous slide, but here as a printed warning against false labels. So he would actually use again some sort of a propaganda again to say, hey, you guys, if you copy, I'm gonna sue you. And he would. He would actually, he would. So as I was saying today about the different strategies, it's like a sword and shield strategy, or like a strong offensive strategies, like fighting straight up, like fighting a duel. That's what these guys were doing. Here's another one. Here's a rose for Paul Poiret, and actually Charles Worth had a snail. So that he would have that shell on his back. That's what it was. And Paul Poiret, he would call himself an artist again. He will dress up like an artist, so he would more look like a painter and not a tailor. And he would call himself an artist, not a dressmaker. And he was the father of drapings and style suit. And here's some ideas. Garment for opera, yeah, but artistic atelier, the same. Dresses for actresses, of course, because that gives you propaganda as well. And then lines of perfumes, cosmetics, and furniture, the same as Worth. But something that was really amazing already back in the day, he would actually give names to his dresses. So that's amazing, because then when he was pursuing copyright protection, he could exactly state what dress that is, what's its name, and what's all the detail embroideries and whatnot. And again, he had a really strong sense of IP protection and why it's needed. And so these are just two examples, because there's like so many other fashion houses, but I would not even dive to today. Fashion as such can be distilled into two areas, all right? Artistic and utilitarian. So obviously, Obviously, artistic is like wearable art, which is obviously copyrightable because it's like putting a canvas on your body or something, or buying a brush and making it into a belt all the way around. So that's what it is. And then costumes, they surely can be creative. I mean, as long as they do not mimic whatever we can see. So if that's like a piece of flower, I remember it was like a really beautiful case in the States. So it was about a costume of a banana, and the judge said that the costume of banana as it stands is not artistic in this shape, as a matter of fact. And then utilitarian. So we go through say the top level, like haute couture, then down to couture, and then artisan fashion through pret-à-porter, so ready to wear, and finally fast fashion and ultra fast fashion, I would say. So I did this distinction of haute couture, couture, or artisan fashion is there's even better way to call it, which is petit couture. So petit couture, you know what it is? They were always there, and actually I called it petit couture. And when I read that even Coco Chanel called these little ones petit couture, so it means 1, 2, 3 people employed in one atelier. So it's not Hermes, it's not Dior. And petit couturiers, that is 95% of fashion brands in Europe, I would say. So how you expect these people to know how to get their business protected, right? So that's what it is. And then you go down and you also differentiate between deluxe and premium and basic, which is also important because when speaking of crafts and say quality and of artistry, it will also translate to the copyright protection. And then finally fast fashion and ultra fast fashion, which is obviously all about mimicking, copying, and getting somebody else's ideas. Speaking of France, back in the day, there was at least this many different fashion houses that you might want to look at. If you'd like to read about this, there's a book that we wrote together with Professor Romanello. So there's 2 books in our series recently, last year, published that are actually open access. And also, if you'd like to read more, just drop me an email, and I'd be happy to share that with you. And then, yeah, so that's one of the books, actually, Lost Jewels of Haute Couture, and that's about the history of it. And then there's also a second one about copyright protection in France. So, as a matter of fact, fashion law. What is fashion law? Well, I don't know. Like really, I'm in fashion law and in fashion business for a good number of years, and still trying to wrap my mind around the boundaries of all this, because there's so much to it. So nearly everything can be considered fashion law. There's civil law aspects, penal law, labor law, and obviously we need to put lenses to understand the business and then apply law. So it's not that it's any labor law norms that we use just like that, like copy paste, because you need to adjust. Say regarding kids and teenagers, but that's different because these are little models. And then how can you tell a 5-year-old to get to go on a diet, right? Or work like 10 hours straight, posing, doing whatever. So there's quite a lot of intricacies to it. So again, anything can be fashion law, environmental, bankruptcy, commercial. I think I have one slide later on that topic too. However, here it is, something that helps us understand the industry as it stands. So again, as I told you before, it's TCLF, and here's a breakdown into all these pieces and small elements like textile industry, and here what it is, then clothing industry, and then specifically one by one apparel industry and customer market, also leather and footwear industry, and not in law but in business there's like a specific distinction of different segments of business. So that's the CLF. But what about beauty, cosmetics? It's not here. So that is another segment of industry. What about plastic surgeries? Right, so that is indeed beauty and fashion up to a point, but it's also medicine law, so it all merges. And something that I like is jewelry. And jewelry is also, for instance, not included. And if I was asked about which I would rather want to protect as a lawyer, or what kind of client I would rather choose, whether apparel or jewelry client, I would rather choose jewelry because it's so much easier to seek copyrights or obtain any overprotection given design or trademarks, and not apparel. And again, jewelry is not even mentioned. So again, these are like very strict lines in business. And then if you do not study business, then I have to tell you that business students and then later business people, researchers, or say R&D or whatever that is, they actually go by databases. So whenever they introduce a new product into a market, they want to, so say I introduce this product to Brazil. So what I do, I pick a database, look for the specific segment in Brazil and see what's out there. So I need to find out what is the rivalry, so competition, is it high, is it low, what are the potential suppliers, what are people's tastes, right? If I want to deliver, say, jewelry, maybe there's really no demand for jewelry, say you don't like it here. So that is something that you need to know. But again, when you look for these reports, they are actually organized segment by segment, sector by sector. So again, if you look for jewelry, you might want to look at the CLF report, but obviously jewelry would go, would be actually considered a separate sector. So indeed, there's like a mishmash of things. And so fashion law. Josef Lange, he said that creating rules not only for our clothing but also for the outward manifestations of our thoughts and feelings is kind of important. Well, anyways, he was a lawyer back in the day in Poland, and so this is it. I mean, that's pretty amazing to. Pretty amazing to see one thing. That's also what I was asking about in my book, copy norms. You know, copy, right? 2 norms. Do we know any norms? Norms of behavior, social norms, dress codes, behavior codes. If I say, huh? Yeah, call me later, right? Or, are you okay? Say, yeah, like, or like, yeah, like, I don't know, right? So we have like, whatever it is. And then surprisingly, we cannot impose dress codes. Surprisingly, it is actually humans that create these norms for themselves. And surprisingly, as I was also trying to say that in my book, there are copy norms. So what is allowed to copy and what is not. And we will look at that in a minute. And I'm saying this because it is indeed kind of important to kind of feel fashion. And that is a fun one, actually 2 of them. So here's a picture taken like a few years back. So she's a surgeon, but then she's also she was in beauty pageant or something. So, and I think she got one of the titles, right? And then on the one hand, she's like super savvy and wise and intelligent and boring. On the other hand, she's also a fun girl, and she like she poses right just in a bikini, and that caused some sort of issues for her. Like if you want to keep your position as a surgeon, you should behave. But really? So isn't it discrimination, right? So at some point it also refers to that lady, Puxley, versus Selmayr, that happened like 100 years back. So she had some issues on her face, so she put a lot of powder on her cheeks, and she went to school, and she got expelled. I mean, she got a second chance. You remove it, you're in. She decided to not to. And then she went to court, and she lost. So the court said, there's norms. Do you have a dress code here at Mackenzie? We don't as well. No, yeah, we don't. But I mean, but back in the day, surprisingly, in the States, dress code was like super tense. Like even like your hair, I'm talking about guys, the one is gone, but it was like even like this shirt. It was like that shirt, please come back when you adjust yourself. And then, so speaking of fashion law, Susan Scafidi said that it can be distilled into 4 segments: intellectual property, which is like by itself very important here; 2, business, finance, investment, employment, real estate; 3, international trade and sustainable development, privacy, wearable tech; and then consumers, customers, and human rights. Well, that is somewhat not convincing. Myself, I did try to put it up together, all in one place, and I found at least this many different areas that go separately. But again, I don't think that we can differentiate only 4 segments, because each and one is so different comparing other areas. Even, as I said, labor law or hashtag, or especially financing. So financing in fashion is slightly more delicate, I would say. Yeah. And sustainability, that is something that we will talk about, especially orange fiber. Together with Professor Romanello, we wrote a paper about it. So I would share some takeaways from that. And yeah, but moving on to creativity, I just want you to understand that fashion is tense. I mean, fashion is difficult to judge, to opinionate from our legal perspective, because we are not straight for that, and also because it is all about emotions. So whenever you enter a design school or law school in Milan, in Paris, they tell you this. Well, we know tuition is not small, but we will teach you how to break a code to humans' emotions, because you sell through emotions. And obviously, you cannot read everything that's out there, but at least 2 studies that I found, one Japanese and one Turkish. So Maeza Nakashini and Maruto Masako Niva. So they said that the red fabric and wearing comfort alone makes clothing look good. So they tried to understand the relationship between beauty and a dress on a mannequin, and they tested 25 different kinds of fabrics while walking. See how that behaves and what's the general idea of that, what kind of emotions all that provokes. And then quite similar but slightly more narrowed down, Gazi University, Ankara, Pinar Kugluberg Özlu and Sarab Denjin de Savinir that actually examined aesthetics and emotions. And that's it. I love it. So it's same dress. It's like a circle dress made of half circle skirt. Yeah, and so it's artificial leather, then chiffon, denim, and a combed cotton. And trying to understand just a pick of, a choice of fabrics. How would that influence the general aesthetic idea of clothing, right? And how would that influence the copyright protection here? And so here it is. In summary, there is a general yes, that a product's market success will be a function of three things. Aesthetic apparel, pleasure it generates, and also customer satisfaction that it yields. And again, that's what I was saying. So actually here's a chain, metal chain down on the bottom that makes that jacket elegant. Always elegant. 20 years in, still elegant, right? So why buy so many jackets? Maybe just get one, right? On the other hand, is this idea, this solution, technical solution, anyhow protectable? No, because it is not original all in itself. So an idea can be original, but it is not ideas that we are after in copyrights. It is actually a form. And is it a form? No, because it's not artistic, it's not creative, it's not individual. So it is indeed a great but only technical solution. So can it be patented? No, because it's not new. It has to be new in order to be considered an innovation, and then they also have to be innovative. Two, is it a trademark? Of course not. Is it a know-how? No, because everybody can see it. You open up your jacket and everybody spots it. So how can you actually even think of getting any protection for this? So again, some situations here and there that actually are, escape the whole protection framework. And here's something that I kind of like. So I use this as it is a framework that I tweaked a little bit. So in aesthetics, have you ever heard of aesthetic situation? It is. So say I'm an artist and you're guys visitors in a gallery, and I have gallery exhibition, and I am presenting my photographies. So there's this some sort of a aesthetic connection. I'm talking to you through my artwork, and you receive message through my artwork. So it's like two-way kind of deal. So that's the same. That's actually. That aesthetic situation is a framework that was used first time in also in mathematics and in software as well. So how do you communicate with your Samsung? You have to touch. You have to press some buttons, right? So that's the communication. And then he's like error. So actually talk to it, and that's the same situation here. So it's like fashion designer talks to his clients through his design and his work of authorship. So that's also another question. Is his work a work of art, or is it a work of authorship, or both? And why and when is it considered one or the other, or maybe both? So is it seductive? Is it that the quality or crafts is so exquisite, I would say? And then not every work of art is creative, and not every work of authorship is a work of art. So these are two different areas of expertise as well, and that's even more so why it's so difficult to say precisely what is what. So here's some more ideas related to seduction, because this is through seduction that we get to spend money. So here's the juicer. That is a beauty on itself. So if you buy it, you just buy it to keep it, not to use it, right? Because you might actually stay in it. You don't want to stay in it, right? So indeed, a juicer, that is a statement. And then Louis Vuitton collection bag. So here's neo-expressionist twist, and we sure know that they come up with all these different fancy elements and new patterns. So obviously you go beyond obvious needs and expectations, and you create something that is just beautiful. So again, the beauty of itself is created through branding, through marketing, and museums and galleries. So for instance, if you put Lamborghini, do you consider Lamborghini to be a beautiful car? Yes. Would you rather drive Fiat? Either way? Well, from the psychological point of view, it is believed that you need to see someone's face on TV 5 to 10 times to consider that someone to be beautiful or handsome. Just because that someone is on TV. And this is how new beauty standards are created. Okay, so it's all about psychology. So again, when you see your bag in the museum, like, oh my gosh, look, my bag is actually exhibited in the museum, isn't it? Like, it's always like a reason to brag about things. And then, do you have any items that you consider to be arts? I think this bag can easily be considered that. Yeah, I cannot see why. Or moon boots. But you don't really buy moon boots in Brazil, do you? Do you get snow in Sao Paulo? Like never? Never. But moon boots, you know, moon boots, that's such an idea I'll show you in a minute. So here's copyrightability. I don't know how much time I still have, but I'll go through these slides quickly. So there's a few takes on creativity, what it is, and so obviously we need a key, right? And we need a pattern, so that if I ask you in Brazil what is creative, and I will ask someone in Hong Kong, and I do the same thing in France, we kind of believe that we get the same answer, because it is all very similar copyright system, which is so wrong. So it turns out that in different countries, we have different copy norms, different norms of behavior. So in one country, copying from someone is still okay, in some other country not. And surprisingly, in this very connected world, it is still so. So here's one thing, a bracelet. So I did some research and I looked at some design from that copyright law kind of perspective, and I found quite a few interesting things. So we'll be looking at the States, also France, Germany, well, obviously Italy, and Poland at some point. Right, so here it is, starting with the States. So the States is kind of easy to research about, because they do have a copyright office, so they do publish their material. As I said, you don't need to do anything to get your copyright protected, but again, in the States, that's the only country, I guess, that maybe one or two more on this planet, but that's the only one that offers registration. So you might want to opt out, but if you opt in, you make sure that your design gets a stronger protection. And in case of expensive jewelry or iconic clothing, that might be important. So this is that. This is bracelet. I know you guys here in Brazil have an exquisite taste for beautiful things. So do you consider this bracelet to be a work of authorship? Is it copyrightable? Is it creative? Yeah, should be. I mean, why not, right? Is it, Professor? Is it? It is copyright? Copyrightable? No, it is not. I was shocked. I mean, when I read this, I actually, yeah, I was scratching my head. I mean, I had to, like, put it off for a few days. Like, doesn't make any sense. So, where's this doctrine that we have in the States? Garden variety. That's what it's called. So, in other words, if you enter a garden and you see beautiful things, beautiful colors, flowers, leaves, you cannot copy as such. You have to tweak it, put your own perspective on it, right? So the court said that, well, it might be beautiful, might not. Well, it is not for us to judge on that because we are not design experts. But it is simple. Some circles, just a P, just a chain. So too simple, really, to be considered copyrightable. I mean, after a while, you have to admit it kind of makes sense, right? Because also, you cannot monopolize things that should belong to everybody, like beer, water, and some other goodies. So indeed, mere simplistic arrangement of non-protectable elements. So if you put these elements together, it does not mean yet that it is indeed copyrighted. What do you think here? Which of these would possibly be capable of protection? Huh? Gold ones. Yes, so none of them. None of them, right? And the one that you're referring to, especially these two leaves together, just leaves. So again, you might want to put some color on it, but when you put some color, maybe it's not that elegant anymore. But anyways, so that's what it is. And then moving on to, garden variety configurations. And here's explanation. And again, I will make these slides available. Here are your picks. There's actually one. There's actually one that got it. Or can you see here? Or I can help you. So which one? Which is like third? Here? Here? Huh? The ring? Yeah. One of the rings? Which one? Like this or that? Yes. Yay! Yay! Amazing, you got it. Yeah, you see? You got it. I needed like a week to understand, and you got it in no time. So that's a bright future for Brazil. Okay, and here's obviously zero protection. I think we all agree on this now. And then another one, if you put some words onto it, blah, 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 hearts, blah, 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 blah. And some rhinestones, yeah, or cross signs. That was a really fun story. We don't really have that much time to explore it. I just want to say that these are two bracelets and that are very much similar. And even though the first bracelet was considered copyrightable, so you can see these little hanging little like charms all over, and these are little pills, like medicine pills that you take. And here on the other side are also pills, but then different. of different shapes. So again, you cannot really copyright an idea, but you can you can come up with new forms, new sizes, new shapes, and all that, new sense. Here's another one. So here's some attempts to seek copyright protection for something that is actually primarily a trademark. So you can easily see or spot Burberry or Hilfiger. So they failed. And here's another one, basic patterns for industry also failed, and some more patterns, and as well, actually only one, the one in the middle was considered copyrightable, and the other one not necessarily so, since the first one was already registered. They said that it's like a double kind of protection, and that's it. So then moving on to Italy. Italy I totally love and hate at the same time, because they have like a very specific idea about beauty. So they impose an extra layer called carattere creativo e valore artistico, meaning that in order to consider something copyrightable, it has to be artistic. And this is it. Story begins. Like, how do we know that something is artistic? And when lawyers in Italy, they actually argue about that. And there's a number of theories, including the one that I like because I understand that as institutional theory. So if you find that piece in a gallery or somewhere else, it's actually considered artistic, therefore potentially copyrightable. And the artistic value, as there's plenty of possible explanations, but again, social ones, institutional, there's a mix of them too, so that's what it is. And so finally we arrive at this, so lamps and chairs and all that, like Vespa, so these indeed were considered copyrightable. Some more examples, and then finally, I skip it, but finally, my favorite example of a work of authorship, and that is moon boots. So there was a very an exponential debate in court whether copyrightable or not, and so lots of research and lots of opinions, but then they considered that it indeed is original, especially that it is ambidextrous. Do you know ambidextrous as a word? So ambidextrous is like, if you can, you most likely are right-handed, and I'm say left-handed. But if someone is born both left and right-handed, is ambidextrous. So these two souls are ambidextrous. So you can mix it and not even know it. And the last one, so the court considered moon boots artistic, mostly for the fact that it was displayed in Triennale Design Museum in Milan, Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art, and some other places. Met obviously New York City, so you cannot argue with that. And so again, Italy offers a very specific protection but however very sophisticated, so not anything is capable of reaching that level. And then moving on to France, still we have quite a few ideas how to look at fashion in this regard. However, France, as you probably believe it, they are very protectionist of their major industry, and therefore they allow more. And so they're very flexible about originality. And they go by that very idea of genius, but genius is not like being like, Albert Einstein in fashion. It's more about being different and slightly different, like a little bit different. And that's like, that's Sophie's in this case. Originality, there's a lot of research behind it. So there's personality theory that that adds a lot. And here's a beautiful example for you to consider whether these Dior sneakers can be copyrighted. Is it or not? Yeah, well, they did allow protection in this case. However, I don't really see why. So, as a matter of fact, sometimes I'm talking to prominent future lawyers. It's all about how you phrase things. It's all about how you wrap it up, all about a power of your arguments and all that. So, indeed, Dior, he's got some pretty good lawyers, right? And they made it. They made it through all these, and that was gained through the theory or the concept of overall impression, like how does it impress you all in general. Well, I will still argue that, but that's my personal opinion. And then Jacques Forban Sandal, and that is actually gladiator that Sandal, and indeed here the court said that not necessarily so. However, in some other cases, like these really quite simple dresses, the protection was granted. So I'm kind of shocked. Okay, here's, I mean, if you compare it to jewelry in the States, so, you know, come on, especially the red one, I don't really see how it's possible. So again, here's another book that we wrote with Professor Romanella Bueno, that is French copyright law, and again, it is available, open access. If you'd like to dive deeper, there's more examples with more pictures, as a matter of fact. And here, to wrap this up, there's Poland. So here it is. I mean, I will show you right here. So that was quite a story. This is the original, and that's the say copy, presumably the copy. So the idea was that, or the situation was that, or the story is that, presumably Voyas. Voyas is a big shoes brand in Poland. Presumably Voyas was hiring, and there was one lady that she actually dreamed of becoming a shoe designer. So she had her portfolio, and when she spotted the offer, she responded immediately. She was invited to a meeting, and then at the meeting she was asked to leave her portfolio for a week or two so that a decision can be made. And the decision was negative. But then, 6 months later, this is it. That's a website. And a price. And sizes. Right? Here. And there. Here. Yeah. Well, anyways, I read the files quite diligently, and as a matter of fact, the court stated that here, even though the idea of the shoe is very, very similar. Oh, so that's the other way around. So that's Voyas here, and that's the plaintiff. So I think I pointed wrongly in the first place. So that's what it is. But there's also the first shoe that is very similar to the one, and the court said that if you measure the shoe, it's done slightly differently. So actually we took the idea and we tweaked it, and they got away with that. And here's another one, same Voyas on the right side, and on the left the designed shoes. Would this be considered a copy, a knockoff? So tassels or tassel fringed sandals. That's what it's called. So the court said that there's stripes all over the shoe, and these stripes are not exactly the same. Really? I know, a big question mark on this, I know. And then they also said that these tassels are not exactly the same, because they're of different width and of different length and width. So that's what it is. So I mean, it's crazy. It's like at some point it's how you really put things together, and how good at making arguments you are. But then also I think that different countries allow different level of reasoning. And here's another one, the same case, a bag, which again was not considered to be a copy or a knockoff or whatever you call it. And so here's the reason for that. I will upload it so you can have a look in your own time. And that is a beautiful one, kitchenware. That is a case that happened in Poland quite a few years back, and then there was indeed a number of items that were like compared one by similarities, and surprisingly the court said that kitchenware, can kitchenware be original? The court said yes, because at some point it has to be technically creative. No, don't you know? I mean, I don't know myself either. I read about it. So the idea is that this kind of clothing has to be protective, because there's fire, there's exposure to hot water, to this and whatnot. And then obviously that's like one thing. And then in the kitchen it gets hot, so it has to be made of special, like of layered material, or maybe some holes here and there, so that there's some sort of filtration. And they found that these little elements were actually in both groups of pieces of garment. And so the court found that it is indeed a copy, but then found reasons for really for not admitting the case, because it actually it reasoned against the plaintiff, as I think the court was slightly afraid of being too much driven and too much ahead, and then they just found some procedural issues. So they said they didn't prove, the plaintiff didn't prove their standing, like they didn't prove they had copyrights in the first place, which was quite ridiculous, because a plaintiff did actually have a witness stating that he was hired by the company and he made these clothings for the company. But the thing is that the company didn't provide a proof of employment, which would actually indicate that copyrights were transferred from the designer to the brand. So indeed, the court decided that the company had no legal standing. But it's like, do you get my point? It's like the court in Poland, they would not tell you, they would not ask you, hey, show me your standing. Prove that you are actually the copyright owner, that you do have some entitlement. It was like, court, I don't know about Brazil, but in Poland it's like smiley, listening to some arguments here and there. It's like always nodding, okay, got it. And then, we have some sort of a situational joke in Poland. Whenever a judge likes you too much, be aware, because most likely you won't get the judgment on your favor, and that's usually it. So it's like, nodding, but it's actually not. It's like always admitting like the other party's arguments. So that's it. Like you try to prove your case, and you actually prove it, and you just get beaten on a totally different ground, so just like so unfair. And so back to copyrights. This is a norm of copyrightability. So is it okay to copy? Yes and no. It is okay to copy in Italy, it's okay to copy in the States, and not so much maybe in France or the Netherlands, or Poland is quite lax about copying. As you can see, Poland would be somewhere, say, same, maybe a little bit below Germany, as a matter of fact. But to wrap this up, because that's actually the last part of this presentation, I just wanted to wrap up. I want to show you one example of that was a code. Yeah, so that's it. Max Mara versus Liu Zhou. So that was the Cube collection and a winter jacket, and it was like made of these little elements and pieces, and you could actually dismantle the jacket and use it in parts and add it here and there, and so that's what it was. And again, the court decided that it is that actually a jacket or coat made of cubes is only an idea, so idea is okay to copy, and so case declined. And case closed. So that's what it is for copyrights, like briefly, to give you a better idea. Let me check the time because I'm, it's 4:58. So do we still have time, or what's the idea, Professor? For okay. Okay, yeah, it's like just 3 students. So what I would like to do tomorrow is tell you more about trademarks and industrial designs. So remember, these get registered. And there's some formalities to it as well. So I will show you some examples how complicated that gets. I will show you my slides based on my practice of my client that got it really difficult to protect her brand as a fashion designer. And then we will dive into strategies, business strategies as such, and I think I will skip most of the theoretical part, like briefly through, but then you will cover Barbie strategy tomorrow. So this is gonna be very pinky and fun, and I'm gonna wear pink, so you can tune in as well, invited to. So yeah, any questions for today? Well, indeed, thank you for being so eager and so much open to acquiring new knowledge, staying till the very end. And what's your name again? Julia. Maria. Lorena. Lorena. Julia. Maria. Lorena. We'll check if I remember that tomorrow too. And then check if you come. But you're very much invited. Thank you so much. So this is it. Floor closed. And see you tomorrow. Thank you. Lovely. Yes, I have like so many more slides.
Obrigado, viu, pessoal?
I could stay for 2